I'm here with Cynthia of Arc Staging, and today we're going to talk about
the benefits of staging and the design process of staging.
Yes. So how did you even get started in staging?
It really came about a year ago. We were trying to contemplate where to go in terms of business, trying to see if this was something we can do, take from a hobby to a business.
Okay.
And we transitioned. I decided to leave my corporate job and do this full time. And It's been a great experience so far.
So are you an interior designer by trade?
It just kind of fell in my lap. So not necessarily not the plan. It just happened when we bought our fixer-upper and we started taking on that remodel phase, and the interest, I think it sparked where this can be more than just a hobby and it can actually turn into a business. So that's where the idea initially set, but definitely not the plan.
So you just have an eye.
That's
just
what I've been told, yes.
And people were like, this is amazing, you should be a stager?
I was always that friend, cousin who would always be like, can you come decorate my house? Can you come shopping with me? Can you come do this? Send me pictures. How does this look? So it was kind of just that person. But I didn't really think in a business sense, right?
Yes.
I just thought, oh, cool. They just want my opinion.
Okay, looking around here, everything is so perfectly like placed. All the colors flow really well. I thought you were, had like degree or something.
No, not at all. It's funny because
you're pure talent, which I love.
Like God-given.
From the heart talent.
Yes. It definitely was not something I intended at all.
I'm just curious, what was your corporate job?
Oh, I worked in finance, actually. So it's funny because in staging you still need numbers, and I still have my spreadsheets, and I still geek out on my spreadsheets, but Excel day to day. So it was at a point where I was like, this is definitely the right time. I don't want to stare at a computer all day. Now I want to do something a little more creative.
What was your first design job?
First design job, I feel like I've been doing it since I was a teenager. Like it was like always remodeling the room, going with my mom to remodel everything. I was dating my husband when he was my boyfriend, we did his room. So it was like I was always that person that was doing someone's room or living room or some kind of space, but I never thought of it as a design job.
So how did you get, when was your first staging job?
So it was actually here in College Park East on Ironwood. There was a listing, and we approached the agent at the time to see if it's something that we wanted to partner with them on.
Yes.
And sure enough, they gave us an opportunity, and we took on the job, and we then were like, okay, now we can actually build our social media page, and we're actually legit.
How did you learn? Were you just like, well, we're going to have to buy furniture, we're going to need moving trucks?
It was all just gut, and I'm such a planner, so that was completely on a whim. Is so not typically like how I do things, but it just felt right. So I just said, okay, I'm gonna go shopping and I'm gonna go buy, I think I'm gonna need this and this many of this, of course using a spreadsheet. And that's kind of how and then it just evolved from there. And then, as you know, in this business with networking and constant referrals, you just never know. One person can know someone else.
Like I know you now.
Exactly. So it's just like you never know what connections you'll have at some point.
That's fantastic. How do you get your inspiration? Like when you come into a space, do you have a process, or is there do you start in a certain area?
So typically before I even arrive at the property, before I even take the staging job, we'll do a walkthrough of the property so I can get a feel of the original architecture of the property, what the flow of the property is, and understand the design that it is already aesthetically, so that I can just layer onto it to beautify it a little bit more. We're not trying to recreate something, right? It's just trying to enhance its natural beauty
with
and
with
the light, exactly.
So the light, I wouldn't even think about that.
So it's like trying to see what, in some cases, like this house has great lighting. Some houses don't. So it's not only trying to make the house look great from the moment you walk in, but also making sure it photographs well.
So, oh my goodness. How do you know all this?
And I'm just that person behind the scenes that just pay attention to all the little details.
But you're right. Those things are so important to us as agents because that's where the marketing begins, or where people first see the listing is online. So it has to look good in photos.
Totally. So we always go, there's certain areas within a corner shot. I'm like, okay, we got to make sure that looks great because I know the photographer is going to want to angle their lens and take a photo here. Of course, the entire home needs to flow and aesthetically make sense. But once the walkthrough is done, I go to work and start creating mood boards. that I then share with the client at the time, just to give them an idea of the direction I'm going in.
Okay.
And
What's on your mood board?
It's more of a digital mood board. So I will take, I know what our inventory is. I have photos of everything and just kind of build upon that. So whether it's a kitchen that I'm doing a mood board on, I'll make sure I have a photo of the stools, the colors I'm working with, and the fixtures play a lot into everything we do. So if there's gold fixtures, I make sure that a lot of what we do coordinates with that. Not that you want to be super matchy, but at least complement it.
You need a little contrast, but you also need...
You want to complement it a little so it doesn't look completely like two completely different styles.
Yes. So what is your process? So you come into the space, but when you get introduced to the seller, have they hired you already, or are they interviewing you? Do you do consultations, free, paid?
Yeah, so consultations are free.
Okay.
Because we feel like there's no way they can make such a big decision like that, right off the bat without having met you or at least seen some of your work.
Yeah. Or knowing what your idea is. Like, you kind of have to paint the picture, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just everyone has a different style and a different approach to staging.
True.
So I feel like I've encountered a lot of different projects where they've been told one thing and I come in with a completely different perspective.
Yes.
So it's trying to also reassure them that their money being spent is actually going to be returned. And hopefully it's going to avoid them having to have a price reduction, which it is cheaper to stage than to go through a price reduction.
It is so easy for me as an agent to say, I promise you're going to get this money back.
Totally.
But sellers still have a hard time investing. And to me, it's a no-brainer, but I think it does help that, you come in and you're like, here, and give them a vision, and then you're absolutely right. It saves money and time. Actually makes them money.
100%
in the long run.
100%. Yeah. And we've had times where we've had projects and the sellers will come in and be like, oh my God, I don't want to move anymore. What am I doing? I didn't know we could do this with this space. But it just, once you know the flow and you know where to lay out furniture and where to place certain things, it just changes what that whole house not only looks like, but what it feels like when you walk in.
That is so awesome. Okay, so you come in, you consult with the seller. Seller says, all right, I get it. I'm going to make more money if I do this. You're hired. What's the next step after that?
So once we agree on the timing and go over, I send the formal agreement over to make sure everything's legally bound.
Yeah. So seller makes an agreement. And now, have the mood boards been done yet or not yet?
So typically I give a sneak peek on the mood board just to let them feel comfortable with the direction that we're going in.
Yeah.
So there is at least 1 or 2 mood boards of probably the biggest parts of the home, either the primary bedroom or the kitchen, living room. So once I send that through, we agree on the timing and schedule. It's almost like it gets passed on to the agent, and then I start working directly with the agent
to make the timing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
To make sure I know when the list date, go to market date is, when the photography is supposed to be done. So it's almost a pass of baton. When I'm done staging, the photographer comes in, and then that's when the agent gets to work. Yes.
Yeah,
you work your magic
throughout the whole thing, even before that.
So this is just when we hand off the okay, it's pretty enough to put on the MLS.
Yes. Okay, so you meet with the seller, we agree on mood board, or they agree on mood boards.
Yep.
And then we figure out all scheduling, release date, and then when do you actually come into the home and set everything?
That, once we coordinate
or how does that look like?
So typically we will determine whether or not it's vacant. So once the property is vacant, once it's been cleaned, we come in, and I always say it takes about a day and a half. And it's not a full day and a half. It's just there's a day of move-in, which is all the larger inventory comes in. And then
is that like a moving truck showing up?
It is. Yes. Okay. It's like the neighbors probably get completely thrown off because they think someone's moving in, but it's just for pretend. So all of the furniture is loaded that day and it's dropped off at the property, so that then the following day I'm able to come in and actually do the styling. So by then everybody knows where the rug goes, where the chair goes, so everything's dropped off in a location, so that I just do the styling.
So you have, I imagine, storage somewhere, or and you go in and you're like, I'm gonna need that, I'm gonna need that.
And I do that. I have a digital inventory, so it kind of alleviates me having to go into storage.
Yes.
Not that I can't go into storage, but it just makes
more
it easier.
efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just digitally put it all together on a very large vision board at that point.
Yes.
And then each room is spelled out with which items go into each.
And then who's your hands that goes and gets all your stuff?
So
because I don't imagine you loading a truck. Okay?
I don't. I mean, I'll carry a lamp or a plant, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
My muscle is my husband.
Yes.
So he's the one who's here. He's at the behind the scenes.
Come say hi. You don't want to say hi?
No.
Camera shy over there.
So he is the one who coordinates getting all that. He does the heavy lifting.
Okay.
I do the pretty stuff, and then he does the heavy lifting.
Which is probably why you guys make such a great team, is because you have one that's got strength in one area, and then you've got your strength.
So it just works out. And then he's in charge of hiring people to make sure he's good with any additional support that he needs to move in.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have trucks or you rent trucks?
We rent trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. At some point, we hope to be able to get to that point. But right now,
it's what makes sense in the spreadsheet.
Exactly.
In the financial
spreadsheet that I have. My tracker tells me it's smarter to just rent the truck.
Okay, so truck pulls out, all the guys come in. So he has a list of like, these items are going in this room, these items are going in that room.
And it's a visual list. So it's not only, is it like, there's 2 nightstands. This is what the 2 nightstands look like.
Yes.
There's this
Do
rug.
they know where to place them?
Yes. So
sort of. I imagine you come in and you're like,
always. They do their best to get it to a place to where I don't have to do as much. But yes, I do have to come in and say like, oh no, I wanted it angled this way. Or no, let's put the rug a little more, like let's not make the rug an island. Let's actually put the sofa on the rug.
Oh yeah. That's a big one, right? Yeah. You're actually supposed to use the
You're supposed to put furniture on the rug and not around the rug.
You're not invited to my house right now. Wait till I move stuff around and then you can come over.
You're gonna start moving the couch.
Yeah. So then people come in, and then you come in, set up, you fluff up, and then
I just stay in contact with the agent, and we'll send. Typically, I do my own photos and my own video, obviously for social media as well. But just to have an archive to build on and a portfolio. Then I just share all that information with the agent and say, okay, we're done. And a lot of times I make sure that if I'm posting something on social media, that I'm uploading it and tagging the agent, so that way it can be a multi-use. Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of the content we're doing.
She helps with marketing too.
Yes. So I do editing of the videos. It's just one of those things. That's like the final piece.
Yep.
It's like, okay, now it's officially like that's the baby. Like we birthed it. It's like now it's ready to go.
What is one of the most challenging parts about your job, or even about like something you've staged that you were like, ooh, this is going to be a tough one?
It really is more the communication aspect of it and working on a timeline, because sometimes when we come in for the walkthrough, we'll have one date shared with us, and then a couple days later it's accelerated. Ooh. And it's like, oh, we actually need it done by this Friday. The seller wants to actually put it on the market. So it seems like a small thing, but it's a lot of logistics, because if we have other stuff scheduled, then it's just a domino effect.
Everybody has to bump, and I'd imagine the truck's going back and forth for things.
Exactly. So then like either the days are longer, or we're having to readjust things behind the scenes, which just creates more work and maybe can cause some confusion. But for the most part, like we haven't had any issues. But that's probably the one thing, is the timing, and we get it. The sooner you get on the market, like the better for everybody. Like it's like green light, upload. But that is probably one of the most challenging things we deal with.
And you mentioned that sometimes you purchase custom things for a home.
Yes.
It's just because you want it to be absolutely
yes. So when we do the walkthrough, I typically already know, okay, as someone who owns a business, I'm constantly looking and sourcing for a product that we can use in future projects. And although I do financial stuff, like my real CFO is my husband, who will say,
he's got the credit card that's like, no, honey.
He's like, what project is this for? Like, I don't see the
my
need.
bedroom.
I'm like, I know it's coming. It's just a matter of time. The project is coming. So in cases like that where I have already pre-selected stuff, it works out.
Yeah.
But a lot of times during the walkthrough, I come in and I go, oh, I know that this just landed at this store. Like, I should probably go secure it.
Honey, this is on sale.
I'm like, I've already told them you're going to pick it up. Just bring the truck. So the people down the street at Home Goods are probably so used to like me saying, my husband's going to come pick it up. I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah, I'm curious. So where do you do your shopping at?
Everywhere, literally, all over the board.
Do you have like a shopping day where you're like, today I'm going to go online and see what?
Depending on how many projects I have. So if I know, because it's scary how much I know off the top of my head of what I have and what I don't have.
Yeah.
I can say, you know what, I really need some more greenery. Like, I need to go source some more greenery. And then that'll urge me to go shopping.
Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like,
that's where I get my.
But then sometimes all it takes is one content creator to post, oh, got these at Hobby Lobby, and then you go and it's gone.
Sold out.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
So so I usually don't like say, oh, look what I got from so-and-so store, because if I need more, I want it to be there.
What's your favorite part about your job?
That it literally changes every single day. What I do, and I touch so many different things. So like I said, my comfort is obviously spreadsheets because I've done it for so many years. So I still get a little bit of that, but the creative process is really enjoyable. And just meeting a lot of new people.
Yes.
I think that is something that's really different. Not that I didn't work with people before, but the amount of people that you're connected with on this side of the business it's just different. And the interactions are different.
Yeah.
So I was used to, like, when you work at a job, you have the same similar type of people because you do the same type of work. Whereas here's a little more broad.
Oh yeah, lots of personalities.
Like,
makes it fun.
It makes it super fun, and I've had no bad experiences, which is great. Awesome. Like, everyone's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, because everybody's so happy with you. I can imagine they're like, I love this girl. Look at my house.
I hope so.
Why don't you take us through and show us how you actually design and how you come up with your ideas, or why you put certain things certain places?
Okay, sounds great.
Okay. This is one of my favorite spaces in the house, and I think it's the beautiful tile back here. So tell me a little bit about how you came to stage this space here.
So with this space, we knew with the color choices, very beautiful, but it needed a little bit of warmth. So we decided to bring in some of the wood accents, and then try to neutralize as much of the white as we could. So greenery makes anything pop.
Yes. And you balanced out the greenery, I kind of noticed.
Yes. And so, like, one of my favorite parts is, I don't know if we can see it, but it's this little like Nespresso station.
It is
what
cute.
I said. I was like, all you're missing is like actually what you need to make the coffee.
Even the gold spoons, I noticed, complement the gold fixtures here.
Yeah. So every little detail, we try to just see how it's going to work in the space and how it'll actually execute.
Yes.
Obviously, in a mood board, it does look one way, and then when you put it in person, it looks a completely different way. But this one, I was super happy with the way everything came out. But yeah, it was just trying to play with some of the warmer elements to try to warm up the space, and also let people know how they would use the space. Like, naturally, if you're cooking, you're going to need your serving spoons, and then, I mean, who doesn't need cooking oil next to them? So that's some of those natural elements we try to work with to make it feel warmer.
One of the things I liked is that when you walk up, you see the greenery out the window, and I thought, is that on purpose?
I know, and it's funny because it to me it is, because every moment matters.
Yeah.
So walking in, and I know she was going to put some greenery outside. Just knowing how it would flow, and just trying to understand, like, when someone walks in, evoking that emotion of like, oh wow, this feels like home. And like, to me, greenery does that. It softens up a space. It makes it feel real livable. When the house is vacant, it feels very sterile and cold, although beautiful. Because it has great fixtures and great design finishes, but it still feels like it's missing something.
I will say, when buyers come through a staged home, they are looking at where you put everything, so they can go back home and be like, okay, I'm going to put this there. I'm going to put that there.
Replicate it.
Yes, they want to copy what you do, because it feels so good being in the space that they just want to keep that feeling when they move in.
And that's why to us flow is so important.
Yeah.
So like kitchen, to me it seemed super easy to just place what I felt like was going to be used and what was going to make it look more beautiful and enhance the space.
Things like even this board, standing it up rather than like putting it
Having
down
a flat,
and putting that. Yeah, I was like, I wouldn't have thought to do that. But it really does complement the area with that warm flow you were saying.
Yeah, and it like feels the space, but without it being cluttered or you know, overly busy. Sometimes if you do that, you tend to lose the design of it. It just almost just looks like you're just putting pieces to put pieces, right? There is no real aesthetic way of placing it, and then it gets too busy and then it doesn't just look as appealing.
Do you ever go in and stage something and then you're like, oh, no, this didn't look like how it looked in my mind?
And I don't do like dramatic differences, but I will come back and that's why I give myself the second day, half day, because I'll take photos and I'll play and I'll look at the photos, I'll look at the video and I'll go, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to change out that vase and I have this other vase that I'm going to use. I think I put too much, it looks too light or too dark. So I do that.
That's so smart of you to look at it on camera, because it does look different sometimes in person than it will on film.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sometimes what I thought would look a certain way.
You're totally a natural at this.
I'm a little OCD too, so it doesn't help that like I obsess over things that maybe the most common people wouldn't even know. But I am like, oh no, it needs to be perfect. I'm like, people are gonna know it's me.
Yeah. I'm sure it benefits you because just look around, it looks perfect.
Oh, you're too sweet, thank you. But no, this one was a great space. Like I said, some of our favorites are the ones where they're fully remodeled, because we know that the person who did the job chose these pieces, whether it's the slab, the tile, intentionally. So now it's just trying to enhance it.
What do you do with a home that is not completely remodeled? Like just your average home, or maybe even your older home?
So with that one, we try to just work, because there's some that we've done with carpet. So obviously we layer rugs and trying to not go overly modern on a very traditional home. So trying to use what that natural aesthetic of the home is to just, at that point, we're enhancing. So we're almost like more styling to make sure that when you walk in, that it looks intentional and it doesn't look like you just brought in furniture to try to modernize a house.
I think that's great, because when you try to over modernize an older home, I think people start to think what's wrong with a home, rather than just seeing, oh, look at the potential of this home.
Exactly. So I think we try to just stay within the color palette of the home, whether if it has dark cabinets, that's the direction we go in. So just work with what feels right for that home. And it does work. I know some people go in like, oh wow, like there was one we did in Cyprus and it sold, I want to say within the week. They accepted an offer. So that was one that I was feeling a little challenged on, but it turned out great. So we were happy with the results on that one.
That's fantastic. Let's talk some logistics. Okay. So you meet with the seller, you come up with a vision, you give them a vision board or a sneak peek. They hire you, then you go through the whole plan, schedule a day, come in, moving trucks, they bring in the furniture, you come in, fix everything to perfection. House goes on the market. How long does the home stay staged after that?
So the typical agreements are anywhere between 45 and 60 days. Those are the initial staging terms. Now, with each home, it's custom, depending on what that specific seller is looking for, or the confidence in, based on the location. Sometimes things factor into wanting to have it on market for a little longer due to where it's sitting on a street, if it's a busy road, anything like that. But typically we stick within a 45 to 60 day. We haven't really found that it was necessary to go beyond that, but
staging works.
Staging works. But in those rare situations where it does, we do offer extensions.
And that is factual. Homes that are staged, do you spend less time on the market than homes that aren't?
Exactly. Yeah. So we haven't found it to be very common where the typical staging terms don't work with the home. And we don't just come and stage and leave. We're kind of you're kind of stuck with us. I check in every so often to see how the house is doing. If if there's
did anybody break anything?
Yeah, and also like how did the open house go? So just check in to make sure like everything's going. And then if I do know that there's either going to be another like main open house and it's been a few weeks since I staged it, I will come in and like refluff to make sure pillows are where the pillows should be, the books are where they need to be. It's easy things
she did that today when we walked in. She said, "Oh, what is this book doing over here? Let me fix this."
Like that was not on the coffee table.
It's true. Sometimes at open houses though, we have kids come in and they move this or move that.
And I mean, it shows that they're comfortable in the space, which is great. It's what you want. So no offense taken, but I just like to come in before a big presentation and just make sure that it looks the way it did when we staged it.
Have you ever had anybody come in and be like, "Oh no, like what, like this doesn't really make sense to me"?
Never. Like, gosh, and I hope it never happens. I don't know how I would handle that.
You're good at what you do, so it doesn't happen.
I'd be like, "I'm sorry, what?" So sometimes I don't get like feedback at all. I'm like, "Oh, okay, left the space." And I'd be like, "Okay, great." And I'm like, I know they've gone in to see it. Did they not like it? How come I didn't get a text saying like, looks good?
Yeah.
So that's just me being overly critical. And then sometimes a day later, it'll be like, oh, the house looked great. The seller was super happy.
Oh, good.
And I'm like, oh, phew, that was good.
Do you have people that try to plan with you?
That want to be a part of it?
Yes, they're like, I think we should do this, and I think
I haven't really encountered like someone who really wants full control. It's been pretty like hands off on a lot of people that we've worked with, where it's like, okay, you have access to the house, do your thing, and then like leaving.
That's awesome.
There's been times where we've had extra people at the home only because there's contractors still working on stuff. We're working towards a deadline.
Yes.
But it's one team, one dream, right? So I'm like, okay, don't mind me and my totes. I will stay away from the painter area.
Does anybody, after they see your work, are they like, can you come design my next house?
Yes.
Do you do interior design for people, or are you only staging?
So right now we're doing only staging, but that's only because that's been the kind of where the focus has been. But we typically, we still take on consultations with people who, we have a family member who wants to do a kitchen. So we take on those things as needed. And upon request, right? So we don't go around saying like, do you need something? But if we do get a request, we definitely, we know contractors, we know the right people who can get the stuff done. But the primary focus has been staging, and right now the market has been pretty amazing, where there's a lot of houses on the market and a lot of homes that actually need to be staged. So we found that this is the season where it's probably the busiest for staging. But not to say that we can't take on interior design work. Yeah.
I love that you're mom and pop, so you're family owned.
Yes.
So you have a lot of autonomy to customize packages or just kind of
and then own inventory. So we can pivot. Like that's why I always go like, come to me with what you think would work and like, let's work together. Yes. And people always ask, because the first question is always, what is your pricing, right? And I'm like, well, I have to see the property, and I get there's budgets. Like from anybody, I know very well what a budget is. But every property is unique, and it requires, a different level of furniture. Everything needs to be specific to that home. So people will always say, do you have packages? I'm like, packages are really hard because yes, we have starting price points, but with the packages, then you're almost just kind of pigeonholed into this one particular view of we can only do the primary, we can only do this. Whereas if we see the house, we can look at each space and go, that room is small, but let's not make it look as small. Let's take out that large bed and let's make it an office, right?
Yes.
So it's more than just putting in the furniture. It's truly thinking through what a buyer would look for and how to design the space where it would showcase the best.
That was going to be my next question. Was actually going to ask you which parts are most important to stage, but I think you just answered it, like the parts that need it, or the places in the house that actually need it.
And it's really the key interior areas is what we're finding. So a lot of times the budget doesn't accommodate a full stage, so there's a partial stage. So we always go definitely the primary bedroom, the living room, kitchen, bathrooms. Those are simple. And I'm like, and if there's room in the budget, an office is also really great with a lot of people still working from home.
Yes.
It's a great option. And it also helps the rooms not appear so small because it's less furniture needed. So it's a little way that we can play with the different furniture pieces to make sure that it still looks great, one, in person, and two, in photos.
So we have a chandelier here. You guys can't see it, but it's very beachy boho.
Yes.
Do you ever go into homes where maybe it's just a regular chandelier and you tell them like, hey, it would make a great investment if you could just change this to this?
There has been one project that we gave recommendations on, and it takes a while, I think, because you're not trying to tell somebody that their taste is not great, right? You're just saying what we think that the space would look better with this.
Yes.
And a small change like that, that's a few $100s,
Yeah.
goes a long way. So we do recommendations. They don't always take the recommendations, but we haven't had anyone take it offensively, which is great.
I think it's good. I would welcome it. If I can change this chandelier for $200, but now my house looks like it's $10,000 worth $10,000 more. Like, why wouldn't I?
So beneficial, so beneficial, and even things like paint color. Like, I know it's annoying to have to tarp everything to get a wall painted, but not everyone loves your favorite color.
True.
So that's where it gets a little tricky. It's like trying to make sure trying to neutralize spaces so they don't look like someone can't live there and put their own aesthetic, their own vibe into the space.
So someone that's thinking about selling, at what point should they consult with you? Because you just brought up a really good point about paint. You know, there's a lot of people that I painted the place, now come in, but
it would be great to have us on board the moment that you think about selling. And that's really just so that we can help answer questions. It's also not going to be something that we feel like is your responsibility. Like, we're happy to give suggestions, even sourcing things, where to find things, give our recommendations. Like I said, the mood board would be a little more detailed at that point. It can say, here are my favorite paint colors. So those part of the service is just making sure that the house is market ready. Goes beyond just, like I said, putting a sofa in a living room. It's truly getting it market ready. And for those sellers who are really flexible and open to the feedback, I think it's already they're one step ahead.
The aesthetics are so important. And I think from doing this for so long, I kind of can have an eye on certain things, but I am by no means a pro or have any sort of interior design. So I really do rely on experts, whereas like my expertise is once we get the home ready, market, doing all the negotiations, that whole sort of thing, coordinating.
It's a big job.
I mean, you know, but just to say that it is important to have somebody that specializes in aesthetics to come in and really say, look, you need a little more light here. Or like you said, this room would look bigger if you did this, or this feature is really important. So
and it's just trying to like make sure we eloquently give that kind of feedback. You know, without anyone taking offense to it's no criticism at all. You know,
but most sellers want to know because they want to know, how do I make more money from the sale of my home?
Exactly.
And a lot of it is people want to come in, they want to feel good, they want it to look good, they want to envision themselves. So I think it's super important.
Yeah, and like getting rid of clutter, like that's
my number one thing. And preparing to sell, number one job. Declutter.
Like, it doesn't have to be spring. It can be cleaning all year long.
We're all guilty of it.
And it's easy to accumulate stuff over time. But it's instantly, we're like, okay, we look at a space and go, okay, so when exactly is the house going to be ready for us to bring in some furniture?
Yes. I'm sure you probably have that more often than people moving up the date, probably pushing back the date.
Because I think they get a little frazzled when we say, okay, well, this is a vacant stage, so everything has to be out. It's a lot of rearranging, and whether they need to get a storage unit or whether they need to sell their furniture if they're moving out of state. It just, every situation is different. So we of course help hold their hand throughout the process and don't like say it's up to you. I'm not moving in until you get your stuff out. So we try to partner. To us, it's a partnership and just working with them.
Do you stage homes where people are still living?
So typically no, because it's really hard. We have done a few walkthroughs in spaces and it's just really hard to tell someone you can't sit on this couch, right? You can't, our beds, we use air mattresses, right? So they're not necessarily recommended to be slept on. But there are instances where there's the family that says, we're gonna hunker down in one room, and we think, we think this is gonna, the agent's like, we're gonna sell this quickly.
Yes.
We do definitely consider some of those, but I just also don't think it's comfortable for the seller to live in a home where they can't actually live in, right? Like I feel horrible. Like it's not so much about putting the sofa.
Don't move that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, we can get the sofa clean. It's not that big of a deal, but it's more so their comfort level and how they feel in their own home. Yeah.
Do you ever have where people might have things you can work with, but they need accent pieces or?
Yes. So that's why I say it's hard to do a package because it's customizable. Yes.
Right.
So they sometimes say, and even if it's going to be vacant, they'll say, I'm not taking the following items. There's going to be a dining table. There's going to be a sofa. And then they do approach us first. Like, can you use it, and give us the option to decide whether or not we can or cannot use it. There's some instances where like, no, it has to stay. So we're like, okay, let's work with it. Let's figure out how we can like style this to make it work. But we definitely partner, which is why I say everything is a case-by-case basis. Like every space, every staging job is completely different from the last.
Yeah, and another good point of why they should contact you from the beginning.
Exactly. We can work through.
Me and then I'll kind of
yes, she has a connection. But no, I think it's just the moment that the thought of selling your home comes into mind.
It all goes hand in hand.
Let's just brainstorm. Like, let's just talk about it. There's no deposit required to have a conversation, right? Like, it's just a conversation.
So helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today and teaching us everything we need to know about staging.
Of course. It's been awesome. Yes, I love educating people, and just we're all partners in this.
We are.
It's a team effort.
Yes. So if you're thinking about selling your home, please call me. I will connect you with Cynthia. Free consultation, and we'll see what she could do to elevate your home.
Yep. Looking forward to it.